Hello and welcome to today's live stream. We're so excited to have you here. If you could do me a favor, just put a note in the comments where you're joining us from. Thank you so much for joining us. Let us know where you're joining from in the comments below. With 90 seconds left to go, let us know who's joining us. Put a comment in there and let us know where you're joining us from. Hello and welcome, everybody. I am so excited that you are here. We have customers in the store. It's a great feeling. We're getting a little bit closer to normal every single day. So I hope you're doing well. Let's see who's here with us today. It looks like we have someone joining us. Tamron Stacy. Hello, Stacy. I hope you are doing well. We are doing well, the Pixel Connection staff. Tamron says, hi, Stacy. Raul says, hi, Pixel crew. Hello, Raul. Hope you're doing well. And my friend Jim Summers, this is how I keep track of the days of the week. Unintended benefits of joining every day. So if you're here with us, let us know. We want to know who's out there and how far this live stream is reaching. So I want to jump right into our content, but I did have a few housekeeping items that I wanted to go over first. So first and foremost, we are open here at the store. We are here to serve you. Our hours are from 10 to 7 Monday through Friday and 10 to 5 on Saturday. So if you need absolutely anything from us, we are here in store ready to help you out. But also, don't feel like you have to come in the store. Like, you could definitely still take advantage of the curbside pickup as well as the online shipping on a ton of items. I mean, there's a ton of items that have free shipping, so you could definitely still take advantage of that too. Don't feel obligated to, come in the store if you don't feel safe or you don't want to. Also, there are a few changes that are happening within the store that I wanted to share with you guys. First and foremost, we are disinfecting multiple times a day. So we are spraying surfaces down, we are cleaning cameras, we are making sure everything is staying nice and clean. Let's say somebody, comes in and tries a camera, we make sure that we wipe that down. We have hand sanitizer there for you to use. We make sure that all of our team members are symptom-free and that all of them are wearing masks. We have things down on the floor where, it shows 6 feet apart. We're doing everything that we can to make sure that you feel safe and healthy. And another thing, we are requiring that all customers that do come in the store wear masks. So all of our employees do, and we ask that, as you're entering the store, for the safety of our staff, the safety of others, that you wear that as well. So that is all I have as far as announcements for now, because I do want to make sure that we get into today's topic and bring in our guest. How are we doing today, Mr. Sims?
I am doing pretty good. How are you, my friend?
I am living the dream here. It's noisy in the store. Lots of buzz, a lot of some people picking up their 70 to 180.
Nice.
That's out. So it's a good day here. It's a good day here. So what exactly are we talking about?
Today we're going to talk about family portraits and family and, of course, children portraits as well. It's one of those things where it can be very stressful, but also very rewarding. And I think it's very applicable to even maybe you're a budding photographer and you're trying to, before you do a paid job, you want to have some practice. So I think practicing on your family or someone else's family, such as a friend of yours, it's a nice way to practice, and I think it's fun.
Absolutely. So we'll go ahead and get your slides up there and ready to rock and roll. Also, I think that family portraits, especially in the Ohio region, are very underserved. I look a little further out west, and that's a very large business for a lot of photographers. So I think that this is something that, if you are looking at different ways to kind of diversify your offerings, that family portraiture and kids portraiture is a great thing. I mean, just solid family portraiture is something that is, from what I've seen, few and far between throughout the state.
Sure, I agree.
Cool. Do you have your presentation shared?
I have it up here. Do you see it?
Nope. You have to hit share screen.
Hold on 1 second.
Cool.
All right. Do we have it?
That is not coming up quite yet. And if you want to email me your slides, I guess I can throw them up too if for some reason.
Hold on 1 second.
Cool.
It is.
There it is. We'll go ahead and add that to the stream. Boom. We are good to go, my friend.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
And I'd like to, as always, I'd like to thank Pixel Connection for allowing me to put this webinar on. Tamron appreciates it and appreciates the partnership that Pixel Connection has with Tamron. So thank you so much for that. Thank you, Raul and TJ. And so you see, it is Happy Thursday. It is Thursday. One of the things during this pandemic is, I sometimes forget what day it is. But I know that Thursday is the Lunch and Learns at Pixel. So thank you again for allowing us to do that. So we're calling this Having Fun with Family Portraits. And this is a small presentation webinar just talking about family portraits. We're not going to get into too much detail. If you have any questions, certainly you can ask or comment, and TJ can see those. At the moment, I cannot see those, but I'm sure TJ will shout those out during the webinar if you have any questions. What is that?
I said I absolutely will.
Thank you. And then you can see there I am. That's me, Bob Sims. And you can see from the live feed of my face that I no longer look like that. You know, one of the things...
1 second. I think we are switched as far as the monitor because we see your kiddo jumping in the puddle there. So let's switch it up.
All right, I hit the next one. Should you see me?
Well, we're only seeing Happy Thursday, friends.
Hold on. Let's see if it is shared. Let me look.
And it's like in the slideshow view, so we see like the slides down the left side.
Oh, yeah, I see that. It is like stuck on that. Give me a second. We're gonna do this. All right, we're gonna try this again. Let me see.
Gotta love technology.
Yep. Yeah, hold on. All right, give me 1 second here. Let me go back. All right, let me see if this helps.
There we go.
Now I'm going to go to the next screen.
Haha.
Is that it? We got it?
Having fun with family portraits.
All right, perfect. Apologize for that. It is technology there. So having fun with family portraits. As you see, there I am, Bob Sims. And as I was saying just a moment ago, a lot of my friends and colleagues are growing out their facial hair. And maybe some gentlemen who typically would not have a longer kind of beard or goatee, they are choosing to do that because of quarantine. I went the opposite route. And so I typically have a larger, like a goatee or something like that. But my wife actually prefers this little clean shaven, barely there kind of a look. So I decided, and this is a pro marriage tip, and this is totally free for everyone listening, but I decided that I was going to use this look, shave my goatee, so my wife would be more attracted to me, because I figured if I'm going to be quarantined for the next couple months, like I have been, I decided to have a look that my wife actually likes to look at my face. So there's my pro marriage tip for the day. As you see there, my Instagram handle at Tamron Bob, one word. I appreciate it if you would follow me. If you ever have any questions, not only about Tamron products, but about photography in general. I'm not an expert by no means, but I loved receiving DMs. I receive them a lot throughout the day, and I will respond. Just know that it may take me about 24 hours to respond. Right below that, you'll see Tamron Eastern Central. That is the handle for my Facebook. You can follow me there as well, and I appreciate that. So my goal is that you take one thing that you learned today from this webinar and apply it to your own style of photography. I typically have this disclaimer before any of my workshops or webinars that I am not the world's best portrait photographer or even the best photographer possibly even watching this live stream. Definitely not the best, I'm sure. But my goal is to share something. It might not even be a photography tip necessarily. It might be something about an equipment or a piece of equipment that I use, that you can take that and apply it to your own style of photography and improve. So that is my goal. Hopefully you get something from this. First off, though, who is Tamron? So Tamron is the global leading manufacturer of optics. This is all we do. Tamron makes lenses. That we don't make bags. We don't make anything other than just lenses and optics. And we are the global leader when it comes to that category. We're known for one of the best warranty in the industry. And then we're known for our innovation and quality. One of the things, for instance, our image stabilization. We call it our vibration compensation. And without a doubt, it is second to no one in the industry. It is that good. And that's kind of the innovation that we bring to the table when you buy or purchase and use a Tamron lens. So as you see, I noted that the 6-year warranty, and then also it's amazing, the 3-day business day repair service. So from the date that Tamron at the headquarters, they inspect your lens and they send you the email to tell you what's going on. Expect that in around 3 days. Now, obviously, because of the pandemic and the fact of Tamron is currently closed, I'm expecting, now this is just me speaking, but I'm expecting that once the ball gets rolling again, it will eventually get back to that 3-day business day repair service once we get back, moving along. So lens selection and which lens and why. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but lens selection is important. So I have a list here of just recommended lenses that I think are fantastic for child photography, for family portraits. You can see on the left-hand column the zooms, the 24-70, 70-200. Those are the 2.8 G2s. Also, there's a 35-150. We call it our portrait lens. That's a 2.8-4. If you're a Sony E-mount shooter, we have that 28-75, fantastic, 2.8 RXD, and the very exciting 70-180 that TJ just talked about just a moment ago at the beginning, that is finally available today. It's a fantastic lens. That's 70-180, 2.8 VXD. And then over on the right-hand column, you'll see the primes, the 35-1.4, the sharpest 35 that you can buy today. The 35-1.8, its little cousin, and then the 45 and 85 or 1/8. Also down, you'll see that 35 2.8 OSD, and those are for the Sony shooter. Now, can you take portraits with any lens? Yes, you really can. I think I have one in here from a 14-150 for a micro four thirds. You will get the better quality image if you're using a faster lens, a higher quality, like the G2 stuff. Or in any of the things I've listed here, you can get superb portraits. These are just some things that I bring to almost every portrait session. Is I bring a collapsible wagon. I have a canvas wagon. I've gone through a couple in my career. They're indispensable. You can put all your gear in it. You can put as you see here, a portable dressing room. I bring a step stool, water, and snacks. I put those all in my that collapsible wagon. And it's just fantastic because a long session, even a senior session or even a family portrait session, you're going to have at least an hour or so, give or take, and you might be walking to multiple locations. It's just, like I said, an indispensable tool. Now, on the right-hand side, these are my, I sound like a dad, and I apologize. I do have 4 children, but a smile. If you expect your clients and your subjects to smile, I don't care if it's a senior or a bride and groom or a family, if you want them to smile, and we all want them to smile, you need to smile too, and you need to be genuinely having fun, and then a good attitude. No one wants to deal with a photographer that's has a sour attitude. So have a good attitude, seriously. So here's some general children's portrait tips I have. Is time is limited, and that's really due to short attention spans. I mean, if TJ knows me, and I am about as ADHD as you can get, and I understand having a short attention span. But because of that, you need to work expediently, and so time is of the essence, especially when it comes to smaller children. Now, if you have, around, depending on the child, but I'd say 8, 9, 10 and above. Up to teenager, and that's including the family, you might have a little more time to work with. But if you have smaller children, definitely try to do as fast, photograph as fast as you can, and get on the child's level. And not only when you're photographing them, but when you're speaking to them. So I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. Those are my little ones. I also have a 22-year-old that's married and a 20-year-old. But when you speak to, like, say, a 4-year-old, if you can get down on your knees and speak to them face to face, you're going to have much better interaction on their level, and they'll actually pay attention to you. So sometimes when you're posing them, I would get on my knees and talk to them face to face. And then when I stand up, I'm going to get their attention and hold it just a little longer than I would if I was talking down to them like everyone else, in life. Encourage silly pictures. I have spoken to other photographers that discourage some of this. I don't. I think that I like to have fun. And I think every portrait session, you should have a good time and have fun. And one of the ways that you can do that when you're shooting families is encourage those silly pictures. And I'll talk about a little bit later when you do those, but I think it will help the other images. And then sometimes less equipment works best. I typically, if I'm shooting a senior or a model, I really like to have my external speed lights and radio triggers and all that stuff. But when you're, shooting a family, like I said earlier, time is of the essence. So what you need to do is work as fast as you can. And sometimes having all these lights, and then sometimes you have to, fiddle with them more to get the right exposure. And so I choose to not really bring any of that stuff when I shoot family portraits. I try to use available light and reflectors as much as I can. And then scout the best shot locations as soon as you arrive. And I would arrive earlier than your clients. If you have a shoot and say it's going to be at 6 p.m., I think you should be there at 5:30 at the very latest. And that way you can walk around, get all your stuff set up. One of the things when I was a full-time photographer that I would try to do is if I had a shoot or a session that began at 6 p.m., I would definitely be ready to go. And what I mean is I already had been there scouting locations, and then I would make sure my camera is set up. And for that first location, I've already went over there. I've metered it. I've got everything that I need. And then as soon as they pull up, they're always impressed, mostly impressed, when I say, all right, we're ready to go. And we walk right over, and they were expecting perhaps for me to mess with my camera and the settings and do all this test. Well, I'd already done that. So that would really help you. And those are the little tips that when you're trying to book clients in the future, that the mom or the dad, they're going to share that. The images have to be good, but beyond that, little things like that will help you garner more jobs in the future. And you see right here that I shot these with the 70 to 180 2.8. It's fantastic lens. One of the other little tips is shooting in burst mode. I rarely use burst mode. I never really use burst mode if I'm shooting a senior, or sometimes I'd use it at a wedding, depending, or maybe sports and action, definitely. But when I'm shooting family portraits and children specifically, shooting in burst mode is really, there's a big advantage to that. And case in point, this little girl here, June, shooting her in burst mode, and you can see in succession different looks. It changed just a little bit. Now, granted, the image in the middle and the image on the right were edited just a little differently. I actually, the one on the far right is typically how I edit my images that are going to the clients. The one on the far left is what we call a clean edit. And I would do that depending on if I'm trying to show like the quality of a lens or something. But you can see the expression. I love the look of her, like right here, and it gets a little wider, her grin. And then by that third one, it's just amazing. And she's almost laughing. Now, granted, mom and dad really like the middle one, but they also like the one on the right. So for instance, if you're going for print sales or collage sales, the one on the right would be a great addition to something where her eyes were open, like the one in the middle or the one to the far left. And then rule of thirds, that's classic photography, is using that rule of thirds. So, and it's not rocket science or anything. It's just, trying to, instead of doing right in the middle, having your subject in the middle, you would just try to move to the third. You can use that horizontally and also vertically. And so you see on the left there, the rule of thirds really makes this image a little more powerful. Honestly, if I would have perhaps had them a little further over to the left, it might have been a little better, but it's still pretty nice. And then on the right there, that image, they're not in the middle, and they're a little bit, not quite in the third bottom, but it's close. One of the things that I like to do when you have siblings, and sometimes this can be problematic, but you would want them to interact. And so obviously this little girl here, she is about 5 years old, and the little boy is younger than that. And so I was trying to get them to connect. But obviously sometimes you're going to have them fighting, and it could happen. And it's funny, these little ones here, it's amazing. Her name is June and his name is Hudson. And I'm convinced that little girl June, that she is precocious, she is highly intelligent, and I think she is going to be either one of two things. And I can say this because I've told this to their mom and dad, is I think she is either going to be like a neurosurgeon, because that's how intelligent this little girl is, or she's going to be the dictator of a small country, because that's kind of her personality. She is feisty and she's amazing, really fun to photograph, but you got to be careful because she can ramp up a little bit. And as you can see on the left, I love that. I love her holding his arm like that, her hands around him, and showing connection. And mom and dad love these type of images. We call these saleable images. They're money shots. But if you look on the one on the right side, it's a much goofier image. Mom and dad love this equally, but you got to be careful because her hand is around his neck, and she kind of got out of hand on the later frames that you don't see. So you got to be careful with that. And, siblings are different from each other. Now, as I skip back here, June is very photogenic, and she would just, she would have loved to have the entire session all about her. But her brother Hudson is a little different. The image on the right is pretty much what he did when I said, would you like to, get your photograph or smile? And he kind of gave me that look. And so I had to really kind of talk to him and tease him a little bit and get him to open up. And eventually he ended up giving me that great smile. It's almost a cheesy smile, but for images such as this, it's perfect. When you have children, the cheesy smiles are okay. If you're shooting seniors or models or bride and groom, you don't want that cheesy smile. But for child photography, smiles like that big cheese smile, it's great. Don't be afraid to pose traditionally. This is not this award-winning image that I'm going to get all of these likes on social media with, but shots like this is honestly what a lot of families are looking for. And so I always try to give the family just this traditional, they could be standing or sitting depending on how they're posed shot. But this is the one, like for instance, this is the one of this family that they posted all over social media. It shows, number one, it's their entire family. And then number two, they loved it that everyone's expression was smiling somewhat. The little baby there, Avery, she was almost smiling, but looking at the camera. And that was important to them. And it's a nice traditional shot, right? Nothing fancy, but it got the job done. But obviously, you just don't want to stop with the traditional shot. You want to continue because you're a photographer, and photography is art. And so you need to keep pushing yourself to have different angles and different poses. And so this is one that was a little different. And typically, for portraits, you want to shoot eye level or a little down for most people. But all of these rules are just really guidelines, and you can break these. And so on this one here, I decided to do something a little different. So I was like more level below their eye level. And then I loved the June there. Once again, you see her personality, and they actually posted this on social media, and everyone commented like, "Oh my gosh, that's so June," because you see her personality. And I saw her do this, but instead of saying, "Oh no, look and straighten up," I just kept shooting because I figured this is this little girl. And her parents love this, and it's just a little different. And also too, if you look at the little baby Avery there, she has almost like a decent smile for someone that young. The only big distraction in this image, honestly, is there was a telephone pole right in front of this little guy here, Hudson, and there was a big distracting thing. But I took that out, and other than that, it was a nice image. Don't forget to squeeze in couples and individual portraits, especially if you're trying to, actually sell prints. If you do that, I know that some photographers say you cannot do that anymore. It's difficult. But I always had good luck with prints. And there's different techniques you can do to sell prints. But even if they're not really into it, try to encourage them. This couple here, these are good friends of mine, but they do not like getting their photographs taken. Now, they like the family part of it, but they really did not want to get images taken or of themselves. And so I kind of coaxed them a little bit and convinced them to do this. And they really enjoyed these pictures. If you're shooting couples, always try to have them connect. Have them look at each other. I know it's kind of cliche and stereotypical, but have them look at each other. They're going to be more comfortable, and then have them just laughing and talking. And sometimes you can get really nice images, and they might not post these all over social media, but they'll definitely hang these up in their homes, and because it's a picture of themselves. This goes along with what I was just saying. This is someone else that I photographed recently with the 70 to 180. And both of these, so this family here, very grateful to them. And then also this family right here, because I really wanted to get some test images for the 70 to 180. And I'm sure you're aware that we are under a quarantine in Ohio and because of the pandemic. And thankfully, these two families were grateful and allowed me we practiced a safe social distancing, and we had some precautions in place, but they allowed me to photograph them. So it was great. And so a good example here is I photographed this young lady and her family. And afterwards, I just said, you care if I do a couple images of you? And she's like, I guess. And so you never know what you can get by just asking. Sometimes you have to use the light you're given. As I shared earlier, that I typically like to have soft boxes and speed lights. But for this specific session, we shot at a vineyard here in Ohio, and I was not allowed to bring equipment. And I really don't have any kind of speed lights really that would work with the Sony a7 III, and that's what I was using because I wanted to use our new 70 to 180 2.8 VXD lens. And so unfortunately, the time that they allowed us, the vineyard, it was not good light. It was very harsh light. It was close. It was midday, and that's the worst time. So you just have to do with what you have sometimes. And I think that's what separates sometimes the professionals from maybe the amateurs or the hobbyists. And so I was able to photograph them. Now, typically, you would, traditional photography, you put the sun is behind your subject's back. And then that's where having either a reflector or having that fill light from your softbox, your speed light, whatever kind of artificial light source you're going to use would kind of come into play. Obviously, I was not able to do that, so I did have a reflector, but they did love these images. But sometimes, that's, when you're shooting a session, you might have great light, and then all of a sudden the light's terrible. So be aware and be able to think on the fly of how you can shoot. This is another one, like this image. They absolutely love this image. And for me, honestly, it's everything about this is wrong to me, only because they're kind of squinty because I'm shooting in the sun. Now, I would have loved to have them with their backs toward the sun and then maybe a nice softbox to give them some nice fill. But unfortunately, if we would have switched this image and shot that way, you would have seen like a truck and a barn. It wouldn't have worked well. But they love this. And once again, I share, well, not once again, but I share this later in the webinar. But as photographers, we are very critical of our images. And sometimes we nitpick every little thing. And my wife always talks to me about this. And I look at an image that I shot of one of our children, and I said, oh, I wish I would have done this. And she said, oh, I think it's great. She's not a photographer. She's a speech therapist. So she doesn't look at it the same way I do. So be careful sometimes that we're overly critical. And like I said, they love this image and they shared it on social media. I think the last I looked, it was like 150 likes or something. So you just never know. Once again, using that rule of thirds is key. It just adds some power to the image. Like I shared just a moment ago, Midday Sun, it was crucial. It was just bad. It was just really bad situation. So what I did is you need to look for shade. So you can see there just a little sliver of shade from this old tree, and it worked out perfectly. This is another image where shooting a little under their eye level works out really well. And I love the rule of thirds here, because you can see the this is the winery, but you can see that the fence post a little bit. You can see the tree. I think it adds to the image. And then I always say, try to get the normal shot first and then get the silly one. So you see the one on the left, that would be called the normal shot, the traditional shot, or I guess the serious shot, but I mean, serious, but they're smiling. And then on the right, we have that silly picture. And the thing is, now, if you're shooting and you're photographing a family and you encourage a silly picture, a lot of the kids will always do it. And typically the parents are okay with the kids doing it, as long as it doesn't get out of hand. But I will do a little warning, disclaimer: if the mom and dad are not into it, don't force that, because no one wants to be forced to be silly if they don't want to do the silly picture. But obviously, this mom and dad here were totally on board, and amazingly, this is one of the pictures that they did post on their social media post when they shared these images. So they loved these. So you just never know what you're going to get. And that's a good segue, because you never know what you're going to get. Now, this is a candid picture. This is not a posed image by no means. This is my little girl, June. And this is the 14-150 I was talking about. It's a little all-in-one for the Micro Four Thirds system. And we always go on a walk. We try to go on a walk every day if it's not raining. And I bring, my little, you just never know. So I guess the point is, when you're doing child photography of even candids, you just never know. So always have that camera ready, because you never know what is going to happen. And find out what the child is interested in as you plan the session. If you include their interest, the session and images, they always look better. This goes really for any photography, specifically for senior portraits. Find out what they're into. I always would find out prior to the session from the mom or from the dad, or even the actual senior, what they're into. So it'll give you something to talk about, and it'll help the building that rapport, which is so key. This right here, this is my little guy. This is Jack, but Jack does love Johnny Cash. I play guitar and I sing a lot, so he loves Johnny Cash. Always has. It's kind of crazy, and so to get him, to coax him to do this session, is we said, you could wear your Johnny Cash shirt, and that kind of helped out the overall session. Also too, I think it looks kind of cool having the Johnny Cash shirt there. And now, available light is oftentimes best for family portraiture. That's me and my wife and my son Jack and my little one June, my son Jace and then my daughter Jaden. They're not in this, like the older ones. So on my front porch, this is, I think that was like Easter Sunday. We did one of those front porch pics. Nothing fancy, but we just did that on the timer. But available light works great. And then you see June there and Jack. I love the way the light is so soft. We want soft light. We don't want sun. That's one of the misconceptions a lot of hobbyists and enthusiasts, when they first get into portrait photography, they assume that a bright sunny day is, it's best. It's best for pictures. But unfortunately, that's not the case. You want almost like an overcast day. We want the clouds really would be the best softbox. So a cloudy day is really best. And so, for instance, in this situation, you see like June there, she still has a little cash light in her eyes. Same thing with Jack, but the light is just very soft. It's a pleasing light, and this is just available light. And these were shot with our 35-1.4, which is extremely sharp. It's one of the sharpest lens, if not sharpest lens we make. It's fantastic. And then use the sun to your advantage. This is my little guy Jack. This is the 85-1.8, fantastic portrait lens. If you have a full frame camera, it's really great. And use the sun. And so keep, the sun behind your subject. You see on that far right, the sun is giving him almost like a rim light, which is really nice. And then on the middle image, you can see it. You can see barely kissing the side of his head there. The sun is. Same thing with that first one. And no flash, like I said, were used in these images. And earlier I said, try not to be so critical of getting that perfect shot. Parents view images different than photographers do. This is a good example of this, my son and daughter, and I took this image. I didn't think it was great, but the crazy thing is once my in-laws and my parents and my wife and, all my family saw it, they would just love this image. And to me, I just thought it wasn't great. I was almost ready to call it, to be like a throwaway image, but it's just, they loved it. So you just never know what the parents are going to like. So this is a good advice when you're giving them the medium, when you're giving them either a flash drive or no one really does CDs anymore, but maybe the flash drive or a link, a Dropbox link or something. Make sure you include a lot of the images, maybe the ones that you're not really for sure or for certain that you would give them. Once again, this is the 8518. And then be sure to ask how the images will be used. And I asked this because during this session, my wife said, hey, you know what? We need something for Jack, because I want you to put, 2020, the year, and I want you to put, his age. He's 4. So my little guy here, he turned 4. He's a New Year's Day baby. So on January 1st, he turned 4. So this was one of the milder days we had, probably in, I would say, February. Maybe we're outside, but she wanted the 4. So I made sure that I had an image where I cropped it as such, where I'd have ample room to put some, the 4 and the 2020. This happens a lot when you're photographing seniors, that they might want something in their date. So I always ask the client, how do you want any kind of text on this, or you might want some text. And even for children, if you're doing like newborn photography, they might want that as well. Try your best to get their personality to come out. So this is my little guy he's insane. He gets it naturally, but he is insane. And so he makes all these faces. And so this is with that 70 to 180. That's just, I can't vouch for it. It's phenomenal. I can't vouch enough for it. It's just great. And I know I'm biased, but I am so pleased. I was so anxious about it coming out because I wanted us to just hit a home run, because I thought that if the 70 to 180 was just as good as the 28 to 75, that it would be fantastic. And it's amazing. All of the images that were in this slideshow were shot with the 70 to 180. They were shot all wide open at 2.8. So, and right here, so obviously we're not outdoors. I have a little studio at my house, and these were all shot with just a ring light. And then I have a LED panel. You'll see that on the image on the right. There's also an LED panel giving him that little like hair light. And then you might see a little bit of mist, and maybe it's just that's just a canned atmosphere. So it's basically fog. It's like a fog machine. And actually, it's crazy, as I bought those cans of canned atmosphere from Pixel Connection. So it's one of the things that they sell, and it's phenomenal for this kind of stuff. I use it really for seniors, but this little guy, the reason I use it with my little guy, Jack, here, is because he's so used to being photographed. All of my kids, even my 22-year-old, they pose on demand. They're just used to it. But this little guy here, he just was not into it. So that's why we did the Johnny Cash shirt. And we told him that we were going to use this cool fog spray stuff. And so that really got him into it. But I typically would use this canned atmosphere. I use it for a lot of like seniors. I would use it for like an athletic shot for a senior, like that tough look, that steam coming up kind of a look. But anyway, they sell that. You still sell that, right, TJ?
Yes, we do.
All right. It's amazing. All right. And then you can see, try using canned atmosphere. You can really see the canned atmosphere. And then that look on the right and the left, that was only really because that's when we sprayed that canned atmosphere, and it was like rising behind him. He wasn't, sure about it, but I think the image is great. And if you look at the one on the left there, him looking like that, it makes for a really powerful and cute image. And even the one on the right, these are great images for memes. But it is all because of that canned atmosphere, and it was fun. So even like, if you're shooting your family and you want to do a little backdrop in your house or something, you really can't use it outside. You really need stagnant air, and you want a darker backdrop so you can see it. But if that canned atmosphere is a fun thing to do, and it's inexpensive, and like I said, you can pick it up from Pixel Connection. Once again, if you're having fun, your client is going to have a lot of fun. And so aim for great expressions and then never stop improving. And I earlier, I know it sounds like I'm being contradictory, but when I said not to be so critical on yourself, but we do want to be critical of ourselves because we want to improve. But once again, aim for those great expressions and try to just every session you do, even if it's your own children or a friend's child, try to do something different, a different technique, maybe a different lens. Shoot something different. If you shoot an aperture priority, try manual, try shutter priority, try all of the stuff that our cameras allow us to do. Canned atmosphere, using reflectors, all the stuff that you can add to your family and child portraiture that can improve it. And then I'd like to once again thank Pixel Connection. And during this time, this is an unprecedented time in the world, in our country, and specifically for our industry. And the photo dealers are I don't want to say they're a thing of the past, but they are shrinking. And so we need to support our local photo specialist. Pixel Connection, you see there, thepixelconnection.com is their website. And as TJ shared earlier, they are open. You can go in the store. If you feel more comfortable to do curbside, they could do that. And then also to their website and all the stuff they sell online. If you see there's TamronUSA.com. If you ever want to, learn more about Tamron and the products, you want to go to Tamron-USA.com. So much great content on there and articles. Once again, Tamron Eastern Central is my Facebook handle. And then at Tamron Bob is my Instagram handle. And then I'm going to, turn it over to TJ, if we have any questions or comments.
So please, guys, if you do have any questions about family portraiture or Tamron lenses in general, please go ahead and put those in there. I do have a couple things to go over before we jump out of here. So you do have time to get your questions in. So first and foremost, Pixel Photo Fest is August 14th through 16th. So it's right around the corner, but hopefully it's far enough out that we are still able to have it. We're having a meeting today, so we're going to kind of talk through everything, and we'll let you know that ASAP. But as of right now, we are pushing forward with Pixel Photo Fest. And Pixel Photo Fest, we've already announced our first 10 speakers. So Vanessa Joy, Aaron Anderson, Jeff Carpenter, Isaac Coffey, Jen and Travis, all who have been all with the exception of Vanessa, have been on the, we've had them on the live stream. And then Brian Manier, we've had on, William, we've had on, we're getting Mackenzie and Melissa. These are all top photographers in their field, and we're bringing them to Cleveland, Ohio for you guys. And because you are part of my Lunch and Learn crew, you can actually save $100, just like Jim Summers did. I saw that come through, Jim. I saw that you're coming to Pixel Photo Fest. You can be like Jim, and you should be like Jim, and save $100 on your entry into Pixel Photo Fest. Also, I want to let you guys know about the weekly photo contest that we have. So this week we are doing the theme black and white, and all you have to do is enter, go onto Instagram and type in the.pixel.connection, give us a follow, and then use hashtags #thepixelconnection and hashtag pixelbw, and that'll enter you in for a chance to win. I also want to let you know that Tether Tools is still continuing their 10% off, which is very generous, and we thank them for that, until the end of May. So you have about a half a month left to go for that. I wanted to remind you that Sigma is working with us to save 5% on lenses. So if you do make any purchases, that'll go directly to the Cleveland Food Bank. Also, we are doing virtual one-on-ones. So if you are in need of any additional help or support, we are doing those virtual one-on-ones. So it's like this, where we can talk one-on-one, but we cater everything directly to what you need. So if you need help with a specific topic, then we can just dive deep into that. Also, I want to let you know that tomorrow is the Friday Focus. So that's where we go through and share all of the industry news for the week. And we also announce our winner. So definitely want to join us for that. You could be the winner of $50 to use in store or online for any different products that you might need. I did want to say hi to a few people. So hello to Mike from Copley, Ohio. Hello to Karna from stormy Canton, Michigan. Eric says, hello, Mr. Sims. Love me some Tamron lenses. Jeff Janis did have a question. Are there any Fuji lenses yet?
No, there are not, unfortunately.
All right, all right. Jeff says he misses us all. Hope you're doing well, Jeff.
I missed you, Jeff.
Jim Summers says, most of my senior parents buy the photos that I really am not fond of and gloss over the ones that I think they should buy. It's frustrating, but that's how it goes. And again, I'm the same way. You know, when I was shooting, especially for seniors, there were photos like those ones that you were like, yeah, I don't even like that. I was going to call them out. And those are the ones the parents ended up loving the most.
You know what, Jim, if I could interject, Jim, you know, it's funny. A few years ago when I was shooting full time, I was trying to revamp my website. And so I was asking my wife I showed her like 8 images and said, you know, which 4 of these 8 would you think would be good for like maybe the homepage and all this? And I had already picked my 4, but I didn't tell her. And wouldn't you know it, the 4 she chose were the ones that I did not choose. And so when she said, I like this and this and this, I said, well, why? Look at this. And do you see this? It's a little out of focus. And she said, I never even noticed that. So once again, it's crazy. If you're not a photographer, we are so critical of our work. And like all other art, it's very subjective.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Bob. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all the tips that you shared. And thank you so much for spending this time with us. I really appreciate it.
Sure. Look forward to it again. And I will be at Pixel Photo Fest, so I'll be seeing everyone there.
Awesome. We'll talk to you very soon. Goodbye, everybody.
All right. Take care.